Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Enjoy the listening. The Galactic Council's fearful verdict. Earth must be isolated at all costs. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning on Earth. People went about their daily lives, unaware that something extraordinary was about to happen. In cities across the world, workers were heading to their offices, children were in school, and families were having breakfast. The world felt peaceful, but the calm wouldn't last for long. At exactly 10 o'clock a.m., something strange happened. Every television, radio, and digital screen suddenly went black for a moment across the globe. People looked at their devices in confusion. The silence was deafening, and then, without warning, a single image appeared on every screen. A dark, metallic, alien face. The face was enormous, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce right through the viewer. A chilling voice, deep and powerful, echoed from every device. "People of Earth," the voice began. "This is your final warning. You have been observed for centuries. Your actions have caught the attention of forces far beyond your understanding. Earth must be sealed off from the galaxy. If you fail to do this, your world will be destroyed. You have 30 days to comply. Failure to act will result in your extinction." The world froze. People stared at their screens in disbelief. The voice continued, but the words felt like an icy grip on their hearts. "Your time has come. The choice is yours. Sealing your planet is the only way to protect your future and the future of the universe. Ignore this warning, and you will face the consequences of your reckless existence." The message ended as suddenly as it had begun, leaving the world in stunned silence. Across the globe, people were left speechless. Some believed it was a hoax, a prank, or a malfunction, but others, deep down, knew something was wrong. The message was too clear, too real to ignore. In major cities, crowds gathered outside, their phones still displaying the eerie face. Some argued, shouting that it was a hoax. "This can't be real," one man cried, shaking his phone at the crowd. "It's just some elaborate trick." Others were less sure. They knew that something was happening, something that couldn't be explained. Governments quickly began responding. News agencies broadcast the message repeatedly, analyzing every detail, trying to understand the impossible, but no answers came. In a small, quiet office in Washington, D.C., President Richard Harris sat staring at the same image. His hands were shaking. He had been briefed moments before on the strange occurrence, but seeing it firsthand brought a new level of fear. "This isn't a joke, sir," his advisor, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Daniels, said, his voice grim. "The message is clear. We've never seen anything like this. We don't know who they are or what they want, but the threat seems real." Harris stood up and paced the room. He was a strong leader, used to making tough decisions, but this was unlike anything he had ever faced. How could they respond to an unknown alien species making such an impossible demand? "Get me the top scientists, the best minds in the country. We need answers," the president ordered. "And get me the military. I don't care if it's a prank or not. We need to prepare for the worst." Meanwhile, in Moscow, Russian President Elena Ivanova watched the broadcast with growing concern. Her fingers gripped the edge of her desk as she stared at the alien face, the cold message repeating over and over in her mind. She had seen a lot in her time, but nothing like this. It was impossible to ignore. "Contact China. Contact the UN," she said. "We must prepare. We cannot risk ignoring this." Around the world, the same reactions were unfolding. People rushed to their phones, calling family members, trying to make sense of the chaos. In the streets, strangers whispered to each other, asking if anyone else had heard the message. It was the beginning of a global panic, but in the midst of the panic, there was something else: curiosity. Who were these beings? Why did they choose now to contact humanity? And why demand that Earth be sealed off? Was this truly a threat, or was it some kind of test? The answers didn't come. The alien message didn't explain why Earth must be sealed, nor did it give any details about the galactic forces it spoke of. But the one thing everyone knew for certain was that humanity had no time to waste. 30 days. That was all they had. In every corner of the planet, people began to turn to their leaders for answers. Governments scrambled to respond, trying to make sense of the impossible message. Some countries began preparing for war, others for a peaceful solution. But as the world tried to figure out its next move, one thing was certain: no one was safe from the unknown threat that loomed over them all. The clock was ticking. The alien ultimatum had been delivered. Earth's fate now lay in the hands of its people, and the world could only wonder what would happen when the 30 days were up. As the alien message echoed through every city across Earth, a wave of uncertainty and fear swept across the planet. The world's leaders scrambled to find answers, but the mysterious alien ultimatum was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. In every corner of the globe, people waited for guidance from their governments, but the response was anything but unified. In the United States, President Richard Harris stood before a room full of military generals, top scientists, and intelligence officers. They were all trying to make sense of the alien message, but it was clear that nobody had answers. "Do we even know who or what we're dealing with?" Harris asked, his voice strained with uncertainty. General Andrews, the head of the U.S. military, spoke up. "We've run every analysis on the signal. It doesn't match any known communication technology. The aliens appear to have tapped directly into our global networks, satellites, radios, everything. There's no sign of any technology that could be traced back to Earth." "So we're certain it's not a prank?" Harris asked, rubbing his temples. "There's no way it's a hoax, sir. This is real," said Dr. Lena Mercer, a leading scientist in advanced communication theory. "I've never seen anything like it. The message is too sophisticated, and the technology behind it is beyond anything we have." The room was silent for a moment, the weight of the situation settling on them. No one spoke. Everyone knew what had to be done, but no one had a clear plan. The world was on the brink of a decision that could change everything. Back in Moscow, President Elena Ivanova was facing a similar crisis. As soon as she saw the message, she called an emergency meeting with her military advisors. She had always prided herself on making quick, decisive decisions, but this was different. She couldn't risk making a wrong move. "Send a message back. We need to know more," Ivanova ordered. "We can't just seal Earth off without understanding the full scope of the threat." Her top military advisor, General Ivanov, shook his head. "We don't know if these aliens are even willing to negotiate." The message was clear. "Comply or Earth faces destruction. We can't waste time." "Then prepare for the worst," Ivanova replied. "Alert our military forces. I want every defense system on high alert." Around the world, the response was just as divided. The United Nations convened for an emergency session. Nations from all corners of the Earth offered differing views on how to handle the alien ultimatum. Some leaders pushed for immediate action, calling for Earth's leaders to seal the planet off from the galaxy as demanded. Others, more skeptical, argued that they should not give in to the alien threat without more information. "Sealing off Earth could isolate us from potential allies," argued the French ambassador. "We don't know what other civilizations might be out there. Refusing to communicate could cost us everything." "The alternative is worse," countered the German representative. "If we don't act, we could bring down galactic retribution on all of us. We must show strength and resolve." As the debate continued, the clock was ticking. The 30-day countdown had begun. The world had never faced a threat like this, and every nation knew that their next move could determine humanity's future. Meanwhile, in the shadows, a small group of scientists and military personnel from around the world formed an unlikely alliance. They were determined to find the truth behind the aliens' message, convinced that there was more at play than just a simple ultimatum. They believed that understanding the alien species could be the key to survival. Dr. Lena Mercer, who had been studying extraterrestrial signals for years, led the group. She had long suspected that humanity's history might not be as straightforward as it seemed. Could the aliens have been watching Earth for centuries, quietly guiding humanity's evolution? Or had they simply observed Earth's growing reach into the stars, seeing a potential threat in humanity's unchecked expansion? "It doesn't make sense," she said as the group met in a hidden underground lab. "Why now? Why give us just 30 days? What's their plan? And why are they so afraid of us?" A former military strategist, Colonel John Sykes, leaned over the table, analyzing the data. "I've seen threats like this before. The key is not in fighting back. It's in understanding why they're afraid of us." Mercer nodded. "The ultimatum feels like a test, but I can't shake the feeling that this isn't just about sealing Earth off. There's more going on here than meets the eye. We need to figure out what that is." The group worked tirelessly, trying to find any clue that might explain the aliens' cryptic warning. They knew they had little time, but they were determined to uncover the truth before humanity made a fatal mistake. As the world continued to debate, one thing was clear. Earth's fate hung in the balance. The alien threat was real, but no one knew how to respond. Would humanity seal itself off from the galaxy, obeying the ultimatum, or would they face the consequences of refusing? Only time would tell. The tension around the world was palpable. Governments struggled to respond to the alien ultimatum, but nothing could prepare humanity for what came next. Just as leaders were scrambling to form a plan, another broadcast appeared on every screen everywhere. This time, it wasn't just a message. It was an appearance. The alien leader Zor came into view, his face large and imposing, his glowing eyes seeming to stare into the souls of every human watching. "We are not here to destroy you," Zor's voice rang out, strong and unyielding. "We have observed your species for centuries. We have watched your potential rise, and we have seen your recklessness. You are at the edge of something dangerous, something that could destroy not only your world but the very balance of the universe itself." The world held its breath. No one had expected a direct appearance from the aliens themselves, and the chilling nature of Zor's presence sent a shockwave of fear across the planet. "You have been warned," Zor continued. "Your planet is in danger. Earth's reckless behavior, your wars, your exploitation of resources, your attempts to conquer the stars, has drawn the attention of forces far beyond your understanding. Forces that would not hesitate to erase your existence in order to protect the greater good of the galaxy." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the world's population. "The galaxy?" people whispered. "What do they mean?" In Washington, D.C., President Harris watched the transmission with a mix of dread and disbelief. For the first time, he realized that this wasn't a simple threat. This was a warning, and it was coming from beings who had been watching Earth for far longer than humanity could possibly comprehend. Zor's face softened, but only slightly, and he spoke again, his tone taking on a more somber note. "I am not here to destroy you. I am here to offer you a chance to save yourselves and your world. If you comply with our request to seal off your planet, you will be granted protection. We will ensure your survival, and we will help you become part of something much greater than yourselves." The message hung in the air, and for a moment, no one knew what to think. The offer of protection sounded tempting, but the price was steep. Seal off Earth from the rest of the galaxy. "What does that mean?" someone shouted from a crowd in the streets of New York. "How are we supposed to do that?" Zor answered the question before anyone could ask. "You must cease all space exploration. You must stop any efforts to leave your planet. All communication with other civilizations must cease immediately. Earth must become isolated, cut off from the galactic network. Only then will you be safe." At first, many couldn't believe what they were hearing. How could they shut down their efforts to explore the stars? For centuries, humanity had dreamed of exploring space, of joining the greater community of intelligent civilizations. To be told they must abandon that dream felt like a death sentence to many. But Zor was firm. "Failure to comply will result in your destruction. We will not allow a species like yours to continue unchecked. The galaxy cannot afford to allow your kind to spread your chaos further." Around the world, people were in shock. In Moscow, President Ivanova sat frozen, staring at the screen. She had always been known for her strength and resolve, but this was different. The thought of sealing Earth off from the stars, of isolating humanity forever, seemed impossible. And yet, the alternative was even more terrifying. What if the aliens were telling the truth? What if the galaxy's safety really depended on humanity's restraint? Meanwhile, in secret locations around the world, the small group of scientists and military personnel working to uncover the truth about the aliens' motivations continued their research. Dr. Lena Mercer, ever the skeptic, pushed forward with her team. They had been analyzing every word of the alien message, every piece of data they could find, trying to understand the true nature of this mysterious ultimatum. Mercer wasn't sure what to believe anymore. Zor's appearance had confirmed something that she had feared for some time. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe. The aliens were real, and their presence was undeniable. But why now? Why threaten Earth in this way? And why were they so afraid of humanity's expansion into space? "I think it's time we ask the aliens directly," Mercer said to her team. "If they're willing to communicate with us, we need to know the full story. Why Earth? Why now?" Colonel Sykes, who had been silent for a while, finally spoke up. "You're right. We've been playing defense. But maybe it's time to go on the offensive. We need to find out what they really want, and if there's more to this than we've been told." But as they prepared to make their next move, the clock continued to tick. The 30-day countdown was drawing to an end. The world's leaders were still divided. Some were ready to comply with the alien demand, believing that sealing off Earth was the only way to survive. Others were determined to fight, to resist what seemed like an impossible ultimatum. And all the while, Zor's voice echoed in their minds, reminding them of the consequences of their actions. Your fate is in your hands, Earth. You will decide whether your world survives or becomes a forgotten relic of the past. The world had heard the warning, seen the alien face on their screens, and felt the chilling weight of Zor's words. Yet, despite the clear threat, humanity was still at a crossroads. The clock was ticking down, and the decision they faced would determine not only the future of Earth, but also whether humanity would ever have a place in the galaxy. As President Harris sat in the Oval Office, he couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was deeply wrong. Zor's message was logical, but why had the aliens waited until now to intervene? The timing felt too deliberate. Could it be a trap? Was there more to their warning than they were letting on? I've been looking at every piece of data we have on them, Dr. Lena Mercer said over a secure communication line. There's something else going on here. I can feel it.